This is part 2 of the Lady Harlot fanfiction by Scarlet called The Bequest. And just another reminder, if you haven't done it already, or if you have done it already today, please go on Twitter and tweet Hulu and let them know that you would really like them to renew Harlots, and let them know how much you love Lady Harlot if you're a fan of the ship. I'm going to link everything that I have for the author of this fanfiction below, so you'll be able to find all her stuff on Archive of Our Own and also on Tumblr and Twitter. Last we saw of Charlotte and Isabella, they had a talk. Isabella was trying to explain herself and trying to sort of give reasons as to why she did what she did. At first Charlotte wasn't very receptive, but then she stopped and gave her a chance to speak, and she listened, and then they hugged, and the hug was so good. And now we are on the next day. When Jacob gives her the letter, Charlotte opens it this time. The only thing written on it is an address. Charlotte slips the letter in her pocket, where it burns her fingers all morning every time they happen to graze it. "What's the matter with you today?" Nancy asks her later in the afternoon as she stands outside by the door covering for her pa, who left to run some errands. "You look like someone pissed in your gin and shoved a stick up your ass." Charlotte shakes her head as she steps over the threshold to lean against the wall next to Nancy. She pulls the letter out from her pocket and hands it over. Nancy opens it and looks at its content. "Lady Fitz?" she asks. "Who else do we know who can afford a house in St. James's?" "The Reptons," Nancy replies with a twinkle in her eye. Charlotte laughs. "They wouldn't write to me. I'm way too old to be of any interest to them anymore." Pervs. "Huh, the lecherous fuckers," Nancy states with a hint of disgust, before turning her attention back to the letter. "So, the Lady of Iscariot is summoning you. It's not a summon, more an invitation. We ran into each other yesterday in the pleasure gardens," Charlotte explains. "We had a long talk." "How did that go?" Charlotte looks down, playing with one of the rings on her fingers. "It was infuriating, painful, exasperating, heartbreaking, all of that." She finishes with a brief chuckle, conscious how lame she must sound. "I've felt this way about your mother many times," Nancy points out. "Yes, but Lady Fitz is not..." Charlotte's voice trails off. "Is not what?" Nancy smirks. "She betrayed me, Nance." "That she did," Nancy agrees. "But the question you need to ask yourself is, were her motivations bad to the core, or did she do the wrong thing for the right reasons?" Ooh, that's a good question. "She was trying to save her daughter," Charlotte breathes out. "And did she?" Nancy asks. "Yes," Charlotte replies, "although I can't quite fathom how she managed to get her wretched brother to leave them alone." Nancy reaches out to pat Charlotte's arm. "Then I hope you'll remember all the foolish, daft decisions your mother made to save Lucy." Oh, that's very true. Charlotte lets out a deep sigh. "I know, but I still don't think I have it in me to forgive her." "You don't have to forgive her to fuck her," Nancy states bluntly. "Nance!" Charlotte exclaims, bursting into laughter. "What? It's true. Look, girl, you've been pining for a year." "It's been a year? Fuck. You've got to do something about it one way or another. Go tub her a few times and then you can decide if she's worth forgiving or not." Oh my god, that's very what Nancy would say. "Have I been this obvious?" Charlotte asks, unsure how to feel about that. "Like a mole on a lord's ass, my love," Nancy replies, grabbing her hand and squeezing it tight. It is close to midnight when Charlotte arrives in St. James's to knock on Isabella's front door. Oh my god, she is there. The footman who ushers her in doesn't comment about what an ungodly hour it is for visitors, and Charlotte would bet her garters instructions were given to simply let her in. She silently led upstairs and left in a large drawing room. A painting in the far corner of the room catches her eye, and Charlotte walks towards it to take a closer look. It is a portrait of Harcourt as a young man, dressed in a red hunting outfit, a black hat tucked under his arm. With his long blonde curls, straight nose, and narrow eyes, the resemblance with Sophia is quite striking. Oh, I forgot about that for a moment. Thanks for the reminder. A set of double doors opens and Isabella enters, wearing a long blue dressing gown over her shift rather than her usual attire, her natural hair tied into a thick loose braid. Oh my god, no wigs! A timid smile lights up her face as she walks towards Charlotte, calling her name on the end of her breath. The rustle of fabric on the hardwood floor as she moves is the only other sound in the room. The footman closes the door quietly behind her. So they're alone. Charlotte turns back towards the painting as Isabella comes to stand by her side. "Does he know?" she asks with a tilt of her chin. "He looks so much like Sophia here." "He does, doesn't he?" Isabella agrees in a chagrined tone. "I have no idea," she sighs. "I found him standing right where you are the last time he came here, but he did not say anything. I thought of taking the painting down, but it would only inflame his suspicions." "You allow him in your house?" Charlotte asks in a measured voice, turning her head to meet Isabella's eyes. "Once a month, so he can visit Sophia. It is part of our agreement." "Your agreement?" Charlotte draws the word out. "How do you make a man like him keep his word? On anything?" Charlotte asks in a tone suggesting she very much doubts such a feat is possible. Isabella holds Charlotte's gaze with aplomb. "I began by not giving him anything until all the papers were signed and locked away. I insisted that the promise not to harm you should be drafted as a confession, where he would admit forcing himself on Abigail and being the master of Fallon's brotherhood. He was quite furious with me when I told him what he should write, threatened me with bedlam again and worse. Anything that could break in his study, the china, the glasses, the mirrors, got broken that day. Except me. I stood my ground until he had given me everything I asked for. If I were to be your Judas, it had to be worth it," Isabella states. Wow. She looks down with a little embarrassed smile. "I imagined you were with me in this room throughout this ordeal. I knew you wouldn't have given in. I drew from your strength." Charlotte opens her mouth to speak, then closes it again, at a loss for words. "Sophia and I moved to this house that same evening," Isabella continues. "I allow him to visit once a month, and he knows those visits will stop immediately if I ever find out he is hurting anyone again. Sophia knows about his circle of vile men, what he has done, and since Harcourt has grown very fond of her, he has been desperate to prove he's not the monster I've warned her about." "Does she believe you?" Charlotte asks. "She has a lot of questions, many of which I cannot answer," Isabella sighs. "Would it help if I talk to her?" Charlotte offers. "You would do this?" Isabella asks, her throat tight with emotion. "Sure. She needs to know you're not the only one who thinks her uncle is a dangerous man," Charlotte replies. She pauses, chews on her lip a little. "All this time, I thought you had done what you did to prevent a scandal implicating your brother from sullying your family's name. I believed your reputation mattered more to you than loyalty, more than friendship. I am beginning to think I should have given you more credit." Isabella smiles sadly. Since I publicly acknowledged the existence of my daughter, my circle has vanished like dew in the morning sun. I am no longer welcome in the beau monde, I'm afraid. I'm sorry to hear that, Charlotte says, meaning it. Don't be. They weren't true friends to begin with. I told you I didn't trust any of them, and I was right not to. Good riddance. Charlotte isn't fooled by Isabella's casual dismissal. Her disgrace must have been a terrible blow to a woman whose entire breeding relied on the belief that status and reputation trumped everything else, that it came before one's own well-being or safety, that appearances were so important she had to keep on living with her abuser for the past 20 years. Lady Fitz seems too keen to change the subject in any case. She looks around the room, a hand fluttering to her chest. But where are my manners? Would you like anything to drink? Some tea, perhaps? Something stronger? My butler tells we have received a lovely case of wine from the Dordogne. Isabella chatters, heading for the doors, intent on calling one of her servants. Charlotte hurries after her and catches her by the wrist. I didn't come here for your tea, nor your wine, she says. Isabella stops in her tracks. Why did you? Her question dies in her throat as Charlotte steps forward, bringing her face very close to hers, so close Isabella can feel the gentle warmth of her breath on her lips. Charlotte lifts a hand to cup her face, runs her thumb across her cheek. Isabella blinks slowly, her heart drumming in her chest, and her nerves sparking like flint on a pistol. Charlotte moves to kiss her. It starts gently, undemanding, a brush of her lips that says, I'm here for you. The second kiss lasts longer. This one says, I missed you too. The third time, Isabella opens her mouth with a soft whimper, seeking a deeper kiss that Charlotte is more than eager to give. Isabella's hands fly up to grip Charlotte's shoulders as Charlotte maneuvers her across the room until Isabella's back hits one of the pale ornate wooden panels lining her drawing room walls. Okay, we're going there. Charlotte tangles her fingers in Isabella's hair, kissing her with all the passion she has kept bottled up all these months. When they finally break the kiss to catch their breath, Charlotte takes in how exquisite Isabella looks in that moment. All flushed skin, burning sapphire eyes, and stung lips that could damn a saint. Charlotte Wells, however, is no saint. Her hand drifts from Isabella's waist down to her thigh, slips under Isabella's gown, and shifts until her palm comes to rest on the bare skin of Isabella's hip. Isabella throws her head back where it thuds against the wall behind her, her fingers clenching against Charlotte's shoulders. Charlotte. The name exhaled is both a plea and a curse. Where is your bed? Charlotte whispers, peppering a wet line of kisses up Isabella's throat. Charlotte's smile is rather smug as she finds herself grabbed by the hand and promptly led through a series of rooms. Isabella Fitzwilliam does not run, as such behavior wouldn't befit a lady. But Charlotte reckons this is as fast as she's ever seen her move. Not surprised! Oh my god! And they do it! And I'm so happy. Okay, so this is the epilogue. The next morning. Will you come to visit often? Isabella asks, staring up at her bedroom ceiling while running a lazy finger up the length of Charlotte's spine. I don't know. Can you afford it? Charlotte replies, lifting her cheek from its resting place on Isabella's stomach. She's charging her now? What? Isabella raises her head sharply from her white pillow, eyes widening in shock. I didn't... Charlotte moves quickly up to shush her confused stammer with a kiss. Isabella feels Charlotte's lip curve mischievously against hers, and she pushes Charlotte back with both hands, breaking the kiss. You are making fun of me, she protests, sitting up. Charlotte grins, moves closer. Shh, my love, you're not my cull, she tells Isabella softly, running a gentle thumb down her cheek and across her chin. You've never been my cull. And this time it is Isabella who hides her smile into their kiss. The end. And the author has left a poem by Emily Dickinson called Bequest. You left me sweet, 2 legacies, a legacy of love, a heavenly Father would contend, had he the offer of. You left me boundaries of pain, capacious as the sea, between eternity and time, your consciousness and me. Wow. Okay, so that was the end of the Lady Harlot fanfiction called Bequest. And that was so freaking sweet. That was so sweet. That made me really happy. And yeah, I do kind of believe that this would be like a very sort of plausible way to go of how they might reunite without dismissing all that happened and what Isabella had done. If we do get a 3rd season, I do not expect it to go as smoothly as this. Although maybe, we don't know. I mean, one can only hope, right? But this was so beautiful. This was really nicely written, and I don't know if I did it justice. I did not do it justice reading it, I know that, but it was very written, and I just really want to thank the author myself, Scarlet Fish. Thank you for this. This was such a treat, and it made me feel better about how things were left off in the finale. So let's just keep going, and hopefully we'll get another season and more of Lady Harlot. What is it? What is it? Blaine's smile stretches wider, uglier. How many more girls has he raped and killed since last year? How many more girls has he raped and killed since last year? But such trifles do not matter. What's another servant girl to people of your... I don't even know what... So what? So what? So what? So what? So what? We just ignore them and get on with our lives. Quigley isn't the only board in London who caters to the appetites of men like your brother. Her fingers clenching against Charlotte's shoulders. Charlotte. Charlotte, 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 Charlotte. Where is your bed?